Hello and welcome to Share Talk. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with the Chief Executive Officer of OptiBiotix,
OptiBiotics Health.
ticker symbol OPTI. Stephen and his team have released a significant piece of news today regarding a major marketing deal with Sacco, covering manufacturing and profit sharing deal. Stephen, hello, and how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Thanks very much. Just come back from a long trip to Hong Kong, but yeah, doing fine. Thanks very much. Lots of things going on.
Yes, you've had a very busy time of it, and congratulations on this deal today.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting area, the microbiome, and we made a lot of progress over the last few years, and we're starting to move now from a stage of the company where we built up the R&D, and we're reporting the R&D at scientific conferences, and this is leading to a lot of commercial interest, and this is the first of what we think will be a number of deals across the world in this area for a range of our products.
Yeah, because what I wanted to do, because our audience may not be aware of OPTI thus far, and you've been off the radar to some folks still, even though you've done so well, is for you to just give an overview of the team, of your team, the offering that OPTI have got, and some of the potentials for going forward, please.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a microbiologist by training. And but I guess whilst my training is as a microbiologist, my heart is an entrepreneur. So as an individual, I've started and built up a number of companies. Every single one I've taken to either a listing on the stock market or I've sold to a larger corporate. The last one I've sold to 3M Healthcare on February the 14th, 2007, and I was a director of 3M Healthcare. So I had a role within 3M Healthcare to go around the world and understand healthcare problems, and then to look for technology solutions to solve those problems, either from within 3M or to look elsewhere and buy in technology. And as part of that process, I came across some interesting data on the microbiome, where in a US university, where they're able to show that by transferring the microbiome, so that's the gut bacteria, from a thin mouse to a fat mouse, that mouse went thin. So you can transfer what's called the phenotype from one mouse to another. So that was really interesting. I thought it was quite exciting. But as a large corporate, 3M wouldn't invest in that technology at that stage of its development. So I decided to create my own company, which was OptiBiotix in 2012. Over the years, I've raised probably £100 million in capital in terms of building companies. So I very quickly raised £300,000, and I put some money in myself and a couple of colleagues. We formed the company, and it grew very quickly to a point that in 2014, August 2014, we listed the company on the stock market. At that stage, the company was valued about £5.5 million. And subsequent to that, the listing, the company's grown very, very quickly and is now worth between 55 and 60 million. So we've had greater than a 10 times growth. And most of that growth happened in the first 18 months or so. And then you get to a point where, from an investment point of view, you had 10 times return on your investment over an 18-month period. So you have a degree of some investors took some of their profit out, which is a sensible thing to do. And so we stabilised around about the sort of 70 to 80 pence mark. And now as we enter the next phase of the development of the company, from the science to the commercial, and we have more and more of these announcements, we see the value of the company increasing greatly. And we moved from a position we listed to having just 5 patents. Now we have 45 patents. We have a large number of strains that have value, and we have quite a large number of impressive commercial deals for a company so young. So we have a commercial deal with DSM, one of the world's biggest ingredient manufacturers. We have a deal with KSF, who's the brand owner of SlimFast. We have a deal with Tata Chemicals to take some of our technology into the Asian and Indian markets. And we have 3 or 4 others that that I could also go through. But to get these deals from these large corporates so early illustrates a lot of confidence in the science and the company, and so a lot of rapid growth in a short space of time, a period of stability where we've built up more of the value of the company, and now we're entering, as I say, the next phase of the company where we're entering the commercial phase and announcing more and more of these deals.
Absolutely. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic what your team and you've achieved since the IPO at 8 pence, and this morning I think you were touching on 75 pence. So that's absolutely fantastic. You touched on some of the partners that you've got. Now, Sacco is a huge organisation, but you've also tied in or about to launch in Asia as well, aren't you, over the next few months?
Yeah, that's right. Let me just, because we're a small company, but we have a lot of technology, and having built a number of companies over the years, I tend not to build a single technology, single product company. So the company is built around 4 technology platforms, which create different product opportunities at different levels of risk and return. The first arm, I'll go through it fairly quickly. The first arm is a weight management arm. So we have technology which has created a formulation which we call SlimBiome, which the evidence base shows it impacts upon satiation. So it allows you to lose weight by impacting upon your hunger. So it controls hunger, because most of us can lose weight by reduced amount of calories that we take in.
Yeah.
We expire. But unfortunately, when you reduce your calories, you reduce it by going hungry, and as a consequence, you can't sustain that. So our technology allows you to sustain that, and we launched that on the market in August of last year. We haven't marketed it, but we very quickly grew to sales of £25,000 per month, and we've got a lot of interest from some of the larger retailers, and we hope to be announcing in the forthcoming months deals with these retailers. So that's one element. Quite low risk products on the market already. All the customer feedback, and people can go onto Amazon and look at Go Figure Diet. You'll see that all 5-star reviews, and people generally lose £2 to £3 per week on this using this product. But more importantly, they lose it very easily. They don't feel hungry and moody whilst they're doing that. The second part of the company is this. Am I okay to just briefly go through the rest?
Yes, yeah. I was just going to interrupt you and say it's very good that they don't become moody, Stephen.
Yeah, that's always very helpful, isn't it?
Yes.
So the second part of the company is a technology that identifies particular bacteria that are safe, but and importantly have an effect on the metabolism of humans, and in doing so they can create a health benefit. So this is the basis of this agreement. So we screen 4,000 bacteria, and these are healthy bacteria, the good bacteria type you get in yogurts. Yeah. And we look for a mechanism which could reduce cholesterol. And the science is quite well established on this. And some of these products have been used not as bacteria, but as chemical products in clinical use for 20 or 30 years, where they bind bile acids, and in doing so they reduce body cholesterol. So we found this particular strain after screening 4,000 bacteria. We carried out a human study. It was done independently of us by University of Reading, and we've been able to show we can reduce total cholesterol by up to 36%. And more importantly, the bad cholesterol, the LDL cholesterol, by 23-24%. So some good data there in a population of about 50 volunteers. So that's all been carried out, and I was in Hong Kong last week and Bern the previous month presenting that data to the scientific community. As a consequence of that, we've had lots of interest from partners. Manufacturing partners like Sacco, who cover Europe, but also manufacturing partners that cover Asia and the US, and a whole range of distributors. So these are companies who take the ingredient that Sacco produce or other manufacturers produce, put that into a formulation, and sell that to retail stores or sell it in their branded products. And we spoke to about 30 of those, and we think that that's just within Europe, and we think that if we can have the same level of interest in Asia and across the US, we've got potential here to create a lot of value in the company, just in that one division. I'll just briefly summarise the other two divisions, and we'll come back to this one. The third division is a division that creates sugars. It uses bacteria to create sugars. The bacteria break down complex sugars into simple sugars. We've turned that process around, and as a consequence, we can create complex sugars from simple sugars using bacteria, in the same way that people use yeast to create alcohol or bacteria to create antibiotics. Those sugars, I call them sugars, but they're fibers because they're not digested by humans. If you take those in, they have a level of sweetness which is quite high, about 7% that of sucrose. So in essence, you've got the potential to replace sucrose and fructose, which are sugars, with what we call sweet fibers or SkinBiotix. So that's a third part of the company, and these sweet fibers also have functionality, so they can actually change the microbiome to a healthier state. As a complex area, I will develop that, but maybe at later interviews we can develop that in more detail.
No, that's a very, very thorough explanation there. I mean, you've trademarked obviously the LPL-LDL aspects of that, and it appears now that it's reached that point of traction, because there's a lot of the products are available, and it's going to be going into lots of consumer products going forward.
Yeah, that's the process you go through. You do the science, you validate the science both in the laboratory, you validate it in clinical studies, you then validate it in terms of can you scale it up in terms of manufacturability at the right cost, is it stable over long periods of time, liquid stability over 24 months, and then you start building the IP, a combination of patents and trademarks. So you have what's called double IP, which many corporations like. Once you get to that stage, then start doing what I've been doing the last couple of months, which is speaking to the scientific community and business community, and start creating interest. And that interest then goes into deals, and then goes into sales, and then the value of the business grows. Just by example, one particular strain, and this is all public knowledge, was similar to our strain, but probably further down the line, was bought by Christian Hansen, a big probiotic provider, for 83 million euros just before Christmas last year. So that shows the value of these particular strains. If you can show, one, that you have IP around them, secondarily that they have clinical evidence, and thirdly they have sales. So we have the first two, and we're just entering that sales cycle. So they only had, when they bought the strain, there were only 9 million sales. So you can see the multiples are quite high. So 9 million sales came to an 83 million valuation, and some of the valuations are 20 times of the sales. So it's an area where there's a lot of interest globally, and we're getting a lot of interest from partners for manufacturing, for distribution, but also in other areas of interest in terms of investment and working with us to build a greater diversity of products.
Yeah, because I noticed that you were at the show, the Probiotics show in Berlin in February, and you're planning to do the VitaFoods European trade in Geneva in May. So clearly this is just the beginning for what is going to be a very busy year for you and for shareholders.
It's all part of the process of moving from science to commercialization. Yes. The Probiotics show was a mixture of science and commercial, probably more science than commercial, but there were companies there from all around the world, from the big corporates. The show I did in Hong Kong, that was a mixture of probably 50-50 commercial and science, largely from Asia, Australia, New Zealand, so a different market opportunity. The VitaFoods is very much a trade show where we present our our products and we strike deals with partners, and we'll be launching 2 products which have the cholesterol, this LPL strain within it. One to reduce cholesterol and blood pressure, and the other to reduce factors beyond cholesterol and blood pressure, reduce cardiovascular risk. So a broader product, and we see that we'll have a range of products containing LP-LDL by the end of the year, and we're also launching, as out of interest, our SlimBiome product in Vitafoods. So this is our weight management product, which links into the deal with Tata.
Yeah. Okay. What I wanted to ask you now really is to just put into context this significant deal, exclusive deal and license to manufacture with Sacco, because my reading of it is that they're only covering the European aspect of it in return for 50% of the profit for yourselves. So it's quite a significant deal, and you've managed to ensure that you will get a minimum pricing per kilo to eradicate any potential of discounting.
You picked up a number of key points there. The first key point is that we've had opportunities to license this particular product to one large corporate. But the challenge you have then is that they want the whole field for the whole of the world, but they may not have the right distribution or ability to access all parts of the world.
Absolutely.
A risk for you, and if they decide not to take it forward, which I've experienced before in my career, then you're stuck with a great technology and great science, but nobody commercializing that. So we adopted a strategy where we'll have multiple manufacturers. The first of those is in Europe, which is Sacco. We'll have manufacturers in Asia and in the US and maybe other parts of the world, and they will then use their access to the market. And the network of business partners they work to create products for the market, to give us access across the world. So in this particular case with Sacco, we had 2 or 3 European manufacturers that were very interested. We chose Sacco because they've been established since 1934. They are well respected, well known in the industry. Brands in the world, and have got a reputation for taking those strains from an early stage and growing the business. So they are responsible for the growth in the market of some of the best-selling probiotic strains in the world, to levels of 60 to 100 million. So if we can get part of that, and we can use their network to access their European partners, and to grow sales, we will get a profit sharing of the sales they sell to them, but also royalties from what those companies sell to consumers. So it's an approach which reduces our risk, but opens up a wider range of opportunities, with the normal caveats built into it when discounting, and also built into the agreement is that they have to use their best endeavours. So if they don't use their best endeavours, the agreement goes to a non-exclusive agreement. As a consequence of that, they can pick up another European partner. So there's a great incentive for them to perform, and a number of sticks inside there if it doesn't work out. But our experience of Sacco has been excellent, and we think they will be a tremendous partner to take this strain to take into a wide range of products in Europe.
I think what you've encapsulated there, Stephen, if you don't mind me saying, is your entrepreneurial guile. Many scientists would not have been able to have actually gathered that that's what needs to be done. And I think what happens with a lot of biotechs that have got great technology is that they're not led by entrepreneurs. And clearly you are one to have cut that sort of deal and to be able to say to Sacco and others, you know what, you have this piece, and we'll go to USA, we'll go to Asia, and we'll go to the rest of the world and find other partners. That's brilliant, great strategy, well done.
Well, it's a strategy that sometimes doesn't fit well with shareholders, because shareholders often like to have one big deal earlier on.
Yes.
But the key risk there is that you get a big deal earlier on, and that's great for shareholders, but that deal then doesn't translate into revenues. Because of a whole range of reasons. You have a change in the upper echelons of the corporate. They have a different commercial focus. They have competitive products, but they start to realize if they start selling two products, your new product erodes their established product, which have higher margins on, etc., etc. So this deal, it comes from experience and pains of a past of 30 years of working in the industry and getting it wrong a number of times, and bringing that experience to Optibiotics. And I think this is it's a great opportunity in a great market. So I think we've got a lot of opportunities here.
Absolutely. I mean, you do state in today's RNS that you are in discussions and progressing with other corporates to manufacture and supply products containing LP-LDL. So, Asia, US, massive international markets for you there.
Yeah, well, I mentioned being out in Hong Kong last week. There's a reason for that. As well as presenting. We do a lot of work in the US. I'll be out in the US in a month or two. So there's a lot of interest, and it's always good to attract partners, and in many ways partners are a bit like sheep. Once they start seeing other companies get involved in a technology, it gives them confidence to then get involved. Certainly some of the larger corporates, when you're quite early and you've got very few deals, it's far more difficult, and they start to realize that unless they enter the market now, they'll lose the opportunity. And what you look to get is 4, 5, 6 manufacturing partners, 30, 40, 50 distribution partners, so you can choose the best as opposed to having nowhere to go. So that's what we've been doing the last year or so, increasingly building up that interest over the last 6 months to create that interest globally. And as I say, this is the first part of it in Europe, which is our home market, and will be extended into as the RNS says, the Asian and other markets in the near future.
Well, it's clearly working. I mean, you've got a great space in front of you there regarding all the different products you have, in a sense of obesity, cholesterol, diabetes, skincare. So the opportunity is huge for you guys, and the strategy that you're putting in place with your team is clearly working, given the sense of you're raising 3 million at a placing in August 2014, and your share price is now nearer to 75. So it's and you've not even scratched the surface, really.
I'd agree. We are at an early stage. I think there's far more potential there than we've achieved to date. Whilst the share price has gone up tenfold, I see we're at the beginning of this rather than the end of this. And as the commercial, as investors start to see the transition from a research-based company, which we've been very fortunate in the research. All our research is translated into some really good human data, and a consequence of that attracts interest. And as we go forward, the commercial deals will follow. And this is just a little sample of what we hope for in the future in other parts of the world.
No, that's great. I mean, I'm looking forward to hearing more, because clearly Sacco are going to be supplying the products, the LP-LDL products, into to raw foods, beverage consumers, and other pharmaceutical and healthcare products to their partners. So there's going to be far more news coming. I can foresee over the next 6 to 12 months and the years going ahead.
Well, I'm sure that will be the case, and we'll hope. The discussion we've had we'd like to see these deals sooner rather than later. Of course, with deals, it's a two-way process. You can never guarantee timings. But the level of interest that we have and the discussions we've had would suggest that we'd like to get a number of these deals across the line in the next few months, and certainly the first half of the year, and with more coming as we go throughout the year. So again, you can't always guarantee timelines, but we're hopeful and optimistic, and to date we've tended to surpass people's expectations rather than hence the reason for the increase in the share price.
Yes.
Overpromise and deliver. Of course, you do get within the market where you get some degree of investors over promoting, but certainly as a company, we try to be sensible and try to promote our business in a way which is building up over a period of time. And we started, as I said previous, with 5 patents with 1 division. Now we've got 4 divisions, 45 patents, adding to those by the month. So growing the commercial side of things, and over time, not immediately, this will grow into. The plan is to have each of the divisions of the company to be revenue generating and to be self-financing. And then the strategic plan is to list those separate divisions separately on the market, and that process has started in June or July of last year. So, as well as the commercial side of things growing well, there's lots of opportunities, I think, on the investment side where we can take components of the companies, the divisions I mentioned, and list those separately on the stock market.
Fantastic strategy. Very, very good to hear that. Stephen, I've covered up all my questions. I didn't know if there's anything you wanted to sign off with. There's numerous reasons why investors should be taking more note of OptiBiotix and Opti, the share. So if you wanted to just finish off with rounding off, that'd be great.
I would just say to them, they need to look at the microbiome space. When I went round in 2012, no one knew anything about it. Now, if they just look on the internet, they'll see it's seen as the future of healthcare, and there's a number of reports on that. So we're in a nice area. You already indicated yourself that the markets we're entering are large markets. That was done purposefully. So I purposely looked at the microbiome for those markets, because if you get a small share of a very large market, now these are $80-100 billion markets, then you've got a big opportunity. So obesity, cardiovascular disease, diabetes is the areas that we're working with, and our science. So you've got an interesting area, a big market opportunity, and our science has progressed from laboratory studies to human studies. So now we're starting to show a clear health benefit from these technologies that we've developed into those markets. So I think the future looks promising.
It does look very promising, and I wish you all the very best, you and your team, Stephen. That was Stephen OHara, CEO of OptiBiotix, ticker symbol OPTI. Thank you, Stephen, and we'll speak to you soon.
Bye now.